So recently, one of my students actually visited me here in Barcelona, and we were doing real life approaches, and I was demonstrating how I do them in front of him. And after 20 minutes of doing this, he told me something interesting. He said, "Gus, I've been watching your videos for a while, but now seeing you in real life, it made me realize how loud you speak." And that made me think a lot and actually made me realize a very, very important lesson when it comes to improving your dating life and yourself as a man that I want to share with you today. So yes, it is a fact. I speak very, very loud when it comes to talking to women and just in general. Why is that? Why did I decide to speak loud? Did I read it in a book somewhere where it said, oh, speaking loud means you're a masculine man, means you're gonna get more attention from women? No, I didn't read it in a book. What ended up happening was that in the beginning, like most guys, I spoke very quietly. I had a very quiet voice and I tried talking to girls and they ignored me and I didn't get attention. So what did I do? As any logical, rational person, I try to change some things. I try to tweak some things. And I tried maybe adjusting my posture, adjusting what I wear, and then I adjusted my voice. And at one point, I just spoke a little bit louder. And I noticed, wow, okay, actually more girls are stopping now. And then consciously or even subconsciously, my brain made this realization that, hey, speaking louder equals more attention. So I just naturally adopted a louder voice. And that's how it was. It was an evolutionary process. And that is the powerful thing, is that you become a better guy through the same process as evolution. Let me explain. So part of natural selection is the process where you adopt traits that are better for you and more likely for you to make you reproduce, and then you drop the traits that are not as likely. So for example, there used to be green beetles and brown beetles, and green beetles would be more likely to be spotted by birds and to be eaten. So more green beetles would be eaten, so hence they reproduced less, and that decreased the green beetle population. What ended up happening was that there ended up being more brown beetles. But it wasn't just through a random process, it was by natural selection and evolution. So this character trait of being brown was more beneficial for a beetle to survive, and that's how the natural selection process worked. And it's the same thing as becoming a more attractive guy. It doesn't happen when you read something in a blog article or YouTube video. You just naturally go through this process of trial and error, trying to do new things, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. And then your brain recognizes, okay, this is actually something that is working, and then you adapt this quality trait. And that's how, after 11 years of doing this, I've just naturally adopted a very loud voice. And it is very true, because when I go to some other events, a lot of people tell me, yeah, you speak very loud. And it's only because I've exposed myself for 11 years. If I had read this in a book somewhere that said, oh yeah, speak loud, I can read this in a book, but my brain doesn't recognize that fact. My body doesn't recognize that fact. I cannot just go and read this in a book if I'm a shy, quiet guy and suddenly I'm going to speak louder. No, you have to expose yourself to the environmental pressure, and then the natural selection takes care of the rest. And that's why I love real life approaches. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to memorize all these corny pickup lines or all this fake stuff. All you gotta do is you gotta expose yourself to the right environmental pressure, and then you have to go through a lot of actions, a lot of iterations, and then you just got to pay attention to what's working and what doesn't, and then the nature just takes care of the rest, and it transforms you into this very confident, attractive guy that knows how to talk to women. Do you think that I figured out all of this flirting stuff and way of seeing things and the way women respond and all these mini behaviors? Do you think I just read it in a book? Of course not. I would never be able to read it in a book. And that's the thing, you can talk to a ChatGPT and ChatGPT can give you some lines to say, but it's not about the lines. It's about a combination of millions of different mini factors that are at play here. It's social dynamics. So there's no other way to learn all this stuff than to do this in real life, actually going through the process. Now, obviously, there's different ways to go through this process. And even more importantly, there's many roadblocks during the process, hence most guys quit. So it is important, first of all, to find the right strategy that you can expose yourself to the right environmental pressure. And second is to find a community where people encourage you, give you correct feedback, help you see this environmental pressure, and learn by doing. And this is how I actually structured my coaching and my mentorship, is that I give you the guidance and the strategy, and you have other members in our tribe that are helping you to push through and not quit, because ultimately you're going to learn and discover these lessons on your own. I'm just there to guide you, and the other students are there to guide themselves and also to push each other. And that is how you become better, and that's how you become an attractive guy. So if that is potentially interesting to you, check out the first link in the description.